Hello friend, it's Tonton, and in today's video we're gonna talk about the ratio you should play, meaning like which kind of troops you should have in your marches, which implies some choice on charms, chief gear, heroes, and it's a very important part of the game. By default we play all troops, but as you kind of get used to the game and you understand what is working better, you kind of see that there are two teams, right? Using all troop is not really one of them. You have either like marksmen and infantry, or you have infantry and lancers. And these are two very different ways to play with pros and cons. Initially, if I think about myself and my journey, I really wanted to go towards infantry and marksmen, but at the time, more or less a year ago, a bit less than that, it started to be really predominant to see like 60-40, so marksmen and, lancers and infantry. So we start to see that being used everywhere for rallies, for solo march, and it was something that was really popular. And that was really powerful. It is still very powerful to play 60-40, but it comes with a lot of issues. And let's start with that. It's like you will be taking Lancer heroes more often. Lancer heroes are not good for expedition. They are not really good for arena. You're going to neglect your marksman gear, right? So you're going to do less damage on bear and things like that. So that's the main two drawbacks for me, and they are big enough that I would not suggest 60-40 for a free-to-play, for a low spender at that stage of the game with the current meta, with the way we understand the game. I will actually absolutely not suggest 60-40 for a free-to-play, for a low spender. So I just want to be clear on that because I changed my mind, because now we start to see, marksmen and infantry ratios coming back a lot, with a lot of options with what to do. And I think overall, as a free-to-play, as a low spender, even as a medium spender, you can do that very well. 60-40 can be really good even early days. Apparently, some people are making it work in Gen 1, 2, 3. It really pops Gen 6 and Gen 4 with Reyna. It starts to be really something valid for rallies. So, rally leaders can still go 60-40 eventually for the first few gens. That will confuse most people because they don't really know what to do to counter it, even if, there are some marksman counters. But for most of us, free-to-play, to low spender, to medium spender, I will strongly suggest you play marksman and infantry. And I'll kind of talk about why and where you can kind of adjust the needle between, going full on marksman and very little on infantry for some people eventually, or not that much on infantry and nothing nearly on lancers, or when you want to balance things a bit more and, depending on what you care about. Let's start with heroes so far. The main thing you can do if you play 40, and the ratio, let's start with the ratio. So the default ratio will be 48 for 48, which means 48% infantry, 4% lancers, and 4% and 48% marksmen. Why do we do that? Because you need a good amount of marksmen and you need a good amount of infantry. And why are we using 44% of lancers? It's because mostly that ratio is going to be used with Mia. And Mia, so that's Gen 3. So if you're not Gen 3, you can use 50-0-50, for example, things like that. You don't need the Lancers, but Mia has a skill, the first one only, that triggers more if you have another type of troop in your march. So that skill is 50% chance to do 50% damage. If you have two types of troops, it's 50% per type of troop, so that's becoming 75% in average chances. And if you have three types of troops, it's becoming 97.5% chance to work. The other are not the same. This one is a kind of unique, if that makes sense. At least there are very little working like that, and that makes Mia really, really strong. And why do you want to use Mia as the Lancer heroes in your march with mostly infantry and marksmen? Is because she's boosting all troops. And that's really, really good. Tends to boost all troops and damage reduction as well. That's the case with Philly, that's the case with Molly, but moving after that, Molly is Gen 1, Philly is Gen 2. After Gen 2, if you look at some of the Lancer heroes, most of them, they have they are buffing only Lancers, right? There is somewhere where it's like only Lancers. And I think here with Reyna, Cleaver Tactics or Lancers have. So you have one skill less. If you are playing 48 for 48 or 50-0-50, you have one skill that is not used. So while the hero might look stronger, it's not because you are missing one skill. The same with Nora, the same with Rune, the same with Gordon. We checked them yesterday on stream. People were asking, or the day before. It's the same everywhere. They have skills that are unique to marksmen. as marksman heroes, unique to lancers, as marksman heroes have skills that are unique to marksmen. So when you skip one type of troops, you will want to use specific hero that buff all troops, right? That's really, really important to understand. And as the marksman player, you will have Molly, Philly, and Mia. Mia is an offensive widget, so you might want to use her for offense. And then Molly could be a defensive widget, so you can use her for defense, and she works very, very well. You can see people in Gen 10 using Molly in defense and Mia in offense with marksman and infantry ratios, and that's working very well for them because Mia is simply, damage up, 50% chance, damage up all troops, and damage reduction. So that's working. So that's with kind of the heroes you will put in your army. When it comes to the regular heroes, you're gonna put your best infantry, and there are some very good ones. So Geronimo is amazing if you can get him as a medium spender. Health, you're gonna just use probably the latest one you have. When it comes to lancers, you will just do the lucky will hero with that strategy. So you're gonna do Mia, you're gonna do Molly because you're gonna get her naturally. She will be to 5 stars. If you plan to use her and to put her in your city and in some of your march in defensive situation, you can always do a bit the widget, but I would not suggest free to play to go that route. Even small spender, I would suggest it to be like even to go 4 or 6 for like medium spenders from the get-go. Else you're just gonna spend too much. Understand when she is defending your city, Molly, you will have lancers in your city. So you might not want to have, when it's like talking about Foundry and taking hits on your city, you might not want to have a marksman only hero. You really want to use a regular hero because you will have a lot of troops. It also do not mean that you will have to train less lancers. You still need lancers for many events. That's good to have them, for Crazy Joe, for whatever other situation. So, but you might use more speed ups on, but that we'll talk about troops later, but you might use more speed ups on marksman and infantry. So you do the lucky wheel. Infantry, you just do, whatever lucky wheel as well. So it's going to be Flint. Hector is really, really good for infantry. Gatot is a very defensive hero. You might want to pick one from time to time if you have the extra shard. So good one will be Wooming eventually as a rally joiner. Is a very good rally joiner, so I will consider taking him. I will consider doing Gregory Gen 10, that is really, really good. Then the rest, you don't really have to need more. Maybe, some people want to do a Logan or something like that right now. But I would, like for free-to-play low spender, I would not really stress too much, to be honest. Flint Hector is going to be okay. The only exception for Lancers I would like you to consider is Nora. Because when you are using a marksman ratio, you want to use Nora because at the joiner, because her first skill is 50% damage for infantry and marksmen, and 15% damage reduction on infantry and marksmen. So she has skill that boosts only lancers, I believe. That's all troops, and that's her lancer. So she has a skill only for lancers, and she has a skill only for marksmen and infantry, and that you will stack her in your rallies. You want 2, 3, 4 Noras, depending a bit on the situation. So the exception you should do is very likely Gen 5, put Nora to 4 stars, so you can be a rally joiner in case your alliance is using marksmen, and they will likely, it's like the state that are using 50, 20, 30, so 50% infantry, 20% lancers, 30% marksmen, they are kind of dead right now. It's like people out of the meta, they do not use the best ratio at all. There are far better ways to do. So I will really encourage you to do Nora, but else, just the lucky wheel is fair enough. Same for infantry. And maybe a 1 extra from time to time, depending either you want a better arena, you want a rally joiner, yeah, it really depends. But the one I would suggest is mostly Gregory. That's really good, to be honest. The other one, they can be all, you can all skip them or take the one you want based on when you have the shards and everything like that. When it comes to marksmen, then my suggestion would be to get most of them, if not all of them. Marksmen are amazing in arena, and that's one of the reasons that ratio is really important to play. I think it's amazing in arena, and you will have regularly set up when you have 3 marksmen at the back of your line, which, will be soon my case anyway. It's just like I'm Gen 10, and I got, the marksman is the lucky wheel hero. It's going to take another month and a half before I get her to max. But often you will want, like, if you are Gen 4, you will want Lynn, Greg, Alonso, then, Gen 5, you are adding Gwen to the mix, then you have Wayne to the mix, and you can have 1 Lancers and 1 Infantry at the front and 3 Marksmen at the back. Gen 9, it works really well with Zura, Bradley, Hendrick. So all of these are working very well in Arena, in Exploration. They are really, really strong. So, it works better on Arena. It will work better on Bear. The only thing I think it works a bit less, to be like fully honest from my testing, and which is very limited at that stage, and I'll update you guys if I find like more relevant data and more test myself. Burning cities seems to be a bit harder from what we've seen yesterday in the SVS battle, like before the battle when I tried to burn city. I have a feeling that my 60-40, so Lancers and Infantry, will do a bit better. But that's also probably because I kind of did the 3 troop level. I buffed my charms on 3 troops. I did my hero gear on 3 troops, my chief gear on 3 troops. So it's kind of more or less even my progression, but I will double down on marksmen a lot, and infantry, I'll leave my lancers where they are. And I think over time it's gonna it's gonna be working very well. I'm really curious if some of you are playing like actively from the get-go or from a long time, a variation of 50-0-50 or 48-4-48 or 40-0-60, whatever, which one you are using to burn cities, and how do you feel about it compared to like other players that are using all troops or lancer and marksmen and lancers and infantry. I'm really curious, and you can let us know in the comments like how it works, what are your tips, because that's something I'll keep exploring as I progress my account. The only challenge I have right now is like I'm very late game, so cities are full of troops, so it's really hard to burn cities even for bigger whales. So yeah, it's not really easy to test as well from where I am. So we covered the hero, right? The hero, you will do Lucky Wheel. My suggestion for heroes is you do 4 stars until you are VIP 9, which is around Gen 4, 5, 6, depending on how you manage your gems. So you're gonna do, and the exception is Zinman. Gen 1, Zinman is pretty bad. You can stay 3 or 2 stars on Zinman. Then Gen 2, you put your General Shard on Alonso, 4 stars. Then you take Greg, 4 stars. Then you take Lin with the Lucky Wheel, 4 stars. And you pour all the extra gems in the VIP. When you start to have experts, you can slow down a bit your VIP progression and get some extra treks. That's really important to develop your experts. And then hopefully by Gen 5 you are VIP 9, and you can start to pour all your general shards into Gwen. That will be really important to max Gwen. You will use her for a very long time. I know some people are saying that Wayne is better, but you get Wayne 3 months later than you have Gwen. So yeah, of course, Wayne maxed in many situations is better. I have counter example of Wayne being better for me. I use Wayne and I swap Wayne out for Gwen, and they are same 5 stars for level 4 widget, and I did 15 more level of exploration with Gwen. So there are pros and cons. It's not such a clear cut that Wayne Gen 6 is always better than Gwen Gen 5, and you get Gwen so much sooner in the game, and she has an offensive widget for bear. She does great for bear. So my suggestion for free-to-play low spender will be to go for Gwen, maxed out Gen 5, and then it depends. If you transfer a bit, you have extra shards, things like that, I will really consider going all generation of marksmen to 5 stars to do their widget level 2, 3, 4. That's really enough. You don't have to push it more. So you will do Wayne, Bradley, Hendrik is really important. If I skip marksman, if you had to skip some, I will suggest Wayne, because again, it's not that he's bad, it's just you have Gwen a lot sooner, and you will use Gwen for such much longer, because Wayne is gonna be replaced by Bradley on all front. Bradley's gonna, so you're gonna get, when you're gonna use him Gen 6 if you do it early, and maybe Gen 7, when Gwen you can use her Gen 5, Gen 6, and until you replace her by Bradley, so you will use more and you will benefit sooner. So I think that's really the best decision here. Than waiting, but skipping Gwen and going for Wayne is not bad. It's not a bad choice as well. That's not what I'm suggesting by default. If you think about it and you have a good reason, go for it. The other one I would consider skipping will be Xura, if you cannot afford it, because Hendrik has a bigger impact, I think, and is a really important joiner as well. So I will really consider Hendrik and skip Xura. You have an amazing trio, which is Xura, Bradley, Hendrik in Arena. It's totally insane. I cannot show it to you because I skip Hendrik. I made that mistake myself. So I'm learning from my mistake, but that's really impressive. It changes a bit Gen 10 and 11, but you will play mostly 3 marksmen, 1 infantry, 1 lancers, and you can see that it's impacting your chief gear and your hero gear particularly. That's for heroes. When it's come to your choice of what you do with your charms, with your chief gear, it really depends, right? It's like you can go, if you never host a rally because you are free to play, you are a joiner, you can go crazy on marksman. You can unbalance your account a lot. You can go very little on infantry. You will see your whale suggesting you to do a bit more infantry, but that's working for them. Like they are burning cities, they are holding rallies. When you join a rally, when you join a garrison, your stats do not matter. Your charms do not matter. The equipment on your heroes do not matter. So what matters for you is like, when do you do damage? When you use your gear. You use it a bit in Foundry if you burn cities, eventually. You use it a bit in Canyon. You use it a bit in Alliance Championship. And you use it a bit on Bear. So if you care to be performing on Canyon, Foundry a bit better, and Alliance Championship, you will have to develop a bit your infantry as well. But if you care mostly about Bear and being a joiner, you can go crazy and leave your infantry quite behind your marksmen. That's totally okay. That's really totally okay. There is another part that we need to consider for hero gear about arena and exploration, but I'll talk about that in a sec. So free to play, you can unbalance yourself and really go crazy on the marksman if you want to. That's what I'm suggesting. Not necessarily, because I think like Foundry is important. I think like burning city is fun part of the game, but that's an option. Then for everybody else, you can keep your marksman and your infantry to the same levels. If you really care to burn cities, it's probably a bit better to have your infantry like one level ahead. So let's say, it's not the case on my accounts right now, but let's say I have T2 red gear and I have T1 red gear here. Let's say I have level 10 charms and I have level 9 charms, like a gap like that. What do you do with your Lancers? You can stop them very soon. Some people stop them level 3, 4, 5 on charms. On chief gear, you can stop them like early golden, and that will be okay. If I were you, I will still go to level 4, 5 charms and early golden. So like golden or golden T1, something like that. And then I will really focus on infantry, because early days, you don't have enough troops to play really like only marksman and infantry. You don't really have that luxury, right? You don't have enough troops and things like that. So I'll do all of it with Lancers a bit behind until golden gear and charms 4 or 5. But then it gets very expensive to do charms, to be honest. So I'll leave them 4 or 5 or 4 or 3 or 4, something like that. So you have the basic on your Lancer. So if one day the game changes, the balance changes, in a few months, you can always go back to having Lancers as strong as your infantry and your marksmen. Then you always be able to swap. It's just gonna take a few months, So whatever the meta changing, it's good. I really think that in a few months you can really rebalance your account, and then you start to use 3 troops. I used 50, 20, 30 until Gen 8 or 9. And I burned city, I ranked, I was useful in Foundry. It's not like day and night, right? It's not like because you are using that you start to be a whale when you are a dolphin, or you start to be a spender when you are free to play. It's just gonna be because you're focusing on 2 troops, because you are focusing on like the right heroes, because you are focusing on developing the right pieces of gear, and you spend on 2 instead of 3, things like that. Then you will start to get, you will start to get higher stats on what you care about, what you focus on. So overall, you will have a better outcome. It's gonna be, again, you don't think you're gonna be a whale when you are free to play. It's not gonna be that good. So that's what you do for chief gear and charms. When it comes to arena and hero gear, here it's a bit of another question. If you look at your gear, whichever pieces, you have the parts here that's giving, stats that you want. So often you will want to focus mostly on what? On health on your infantry, and on lethality on your marksman. That's kind of, for free to play, that's kind of more or less all you care about, and you can go crazier on lethality on your marksman. That's the same with research and things like that, because you don't really need health and defense on your infantry. Your infantry is barely used, again, except in Alliance Championship, except in Foundry if you are attacking other players, and except in Canyon because it's a solo battle like Alliance Championship. So it's, except in these few occasions, or if you fight before Sunfire Castle, your stats not gonna be used a lot. So you don't have to have perfect stats. If you care to do a lot of damage and to be a good joiner, pick the heroes to be a good joiner, go crazy on lethality, and that's gonna be working for you. That's gonna be achieving what you want. The gear, the charm, all of that are serving what we want to do in the game, right? I want to be a rally leader. I need to spend 3,000 a month, and I need to be able to buy what I need, and I need to balance my stats, and all the stats are important with, various orders, and it's a very different world, right? So you cannot apply how Whale is playing and apply it to you as a free-to-play low spender. You're not gonna get the best out of it because you cannot do as much as they can. So you have to pick and choose. Same with heroes, same with widget, we have to pick and choose what we do. So here you will focus mostly on your marksmen and or your infantry. You can leave behind your lancers. The way to think, like the most value you will get, and I don't think I have a piece of gear that's here yet, but that will be something like that. That will exactly be something like that to get your lancers if you want to develop them a bit. Like in terms of XP, you know, when you are Gen 1, that looks a lot, but later it's gonna be very little. So having these to like level 50 and Essence Stones level 2 or 3, it's gonna give you a decent amount of stats in Arena and a decent amount of percentage, and it's not gonna cost you much overall compared to like pushing one more level on your marksman, for example. One more level on your marksman is gonna give you maybe 5 lethality or something. And here, you know, when it costs 120, with 120, you can do like you can do all the pieces to level 2, for example. And then you can put level 50 of XP. So something you could consider on your Lancer is doing something like that. So your Lancer is not crap, your Lancer is not bad. He's not too much behind. He will be behind, but it's not like totally neglected. Again, if you only care about bear, you could, in theory, totally neglect your Lancer. I don't think anybody is doing that, to be honest, but that on paper, it could work, right? On paper, it could work. Yeah, on paper, it could work. It's just gonna work a bit later because early days, you're gonna get quite a bit of Lancers in your bear marches anyway. Or you want to send Lancers to other people and you keep like very little amount of Lancers in your marches, like 10, 15%. And you count on your marksman to do the damage. So that could look something like that. And when it comes to what you do with the main stat, so that's going to be health for infantry and lethality on marksmen, you could either leave the wrong pieces, like the wrong stat behind that way. So for example, let's say what some people will do is like they will put the goggles and the boots level 10 in a sandstone because that's where you get the lethality, and they will leave the belts and the glove level 1, 2, 3 with the sandstones, and a lot, you know, maybe level 30 with XP or something like that. That's working. Again, you know, is it best or is it not? It depends on what you care about. That's working if you care to have more lethality to do more damage on bear, for example. That's working. If you care about arena, you get stats from all the pieces of gear. So for people that care about arena, that can play at reset, that manage to rank, my advice is often, of course, you will do the main stat more. But it might look more that like my Gregory, for example. You see, like, and I'm currently leveling up these because I kind of had to rebalance my XP after the push of Mithril and everything. But it will be like, okay, level 10 on health. So you see that, you know, level 10 on health with Essence Stones, level 10, it's 100. And then it's gonna be, you know, level 50 or 60 with a few levels here, and you're gonna balance things a bit more. You're gonna be a bit less effective when it comes to your solo march, when it comes to your bear damage maybe and stuff like that. But overall in arena, you will get a lot more stats. If you look at that piece, that 3.6,000 health, and if you compare at my Lancer, for example, it was a lot less, right? It was like 1.5. So that's an extra 2,000 health on my hero. And if you look at the hero, you know, they got a lot of health. So that's, you know, that's not that much, but that's really helps overall. On all the pieces, it's really helping. If you look at the stat of a hero, he got, you know, let me remove the gear one sec just to see if it's updating the stats. Yeah, you know, the gear is adding 20k health. That's 15% or something like that. So that's not negligible. That's really not negligible. Again, if you care about arena. So that's how you balance your hero gear. And that's beyond that ratio. It's like for whether you play 60-40, whether you play all the troops, the ratio, the choices is like either you go crazy on the main stats and you try to focus on that a lot, and you just, you know, care about solo march and bear damage and stuff, or you care as well about arena, exploration, all these things, and then you kind of have to do all pieces. So here is a kind of your choice. And that I cannot tell you what is best because it really depends on what you care about. It's like some free-to-play player, they care about arena. Some free-to-play player, they don't care about arena, they care about bear. Then you have two options and you pick the one that works for you with your gameplay style, with, you know, with what you love in the game, for example. So we covered heroes, we cover widget, you know, free-to-play low spender, do them level 2 or 4. Don't stress about widgets. So many people are spending far too much money or, you know, currencies on widgets. You will be able to do a lot more widgets when you have Agnes Gen 3.5 from the mystery shop. And that's something I want to talk about. There are a few more things I want to talk about, right? You will have pets. Pets, same, you can either go fully on the offense because you're like, I care about bear damage. So you're going to do what? Deployment capacity. And you're going to do all the one that are pushing the offense. So you have one that is boosting attack. You have one that is boosting lethality. And you have one that is reducing armor. the Froscale Chameleon is reducing armor. So you're gonna focus more on these than the other ones, right? If you care about bear damage, you just want to focus on your marksman a lot like crazy. You can totally do that as well with your pets. You can totally do that as well with your research. You can totally do that if you get some island building for money or something. Just take the offensive one, just take the attack one, right? Just go for that. Get stack attack as much as you want if that's what you want to do. If you want a more of a balanced approach, free to play, low spender, you care to have your solo march to be good, then you can do all your pets more or less together. The suggestion for me for pets is always the deployment capacity first, because if you are a rally joiner, the bigger the deployment capacity, the more damage you do on bear, the more points you make on Sunfire Castle when you are joining rallies, the more points you make on Crazy Joe, and the more you empty your city for your friends. All of that is highly valuable, so I will focus on deployment capacity a lot in research and everywhere you can add the free-to-play. That's really important. And then you can either focus on offense or, balance things. And, if you focus on offense, you don't really need to do the one that are reducing the enemy lethality. Like, if you are not playing to burn each other, other people's cities, you don't have to do this that much. You can really focus on offense again. So this you have a bit of choice. And then you have the training speed-ups. I got attacked by a whale yesterday, and it does not really show anymore here. I will show you the report. Defensive victory. So you can look, I got attacked by a whale. They managed to got me when I had no main heroes in my base. So, I had very bad heroes, bad gear. I still have a bit of a level here, but there are, Gen 10 versus Gen 8 kind of heroes. So he has a lot more stats, and my gear is pretty bad. And all of that, it's a whale at the end of the day. But if you look at the battle details, if you look at the troop I've lost, right? So injured and lost, right? So that's my infantry that filled the infirmary. That's 350k, that's 160k, and that's 280. So you see, like, when he killed my city or burned my city, I'm losing a lot more infantry. I'm losing a bit less marksmen. And I'm losing a tiny bit of lancers. In that case, if you burn cities and you attack, what you will find is that you will lose 55% of infantry, 45% of marksmen. So your marksmen will be quite close, or 60-40, something like that, will be quite close to your infantry. And the challenge is, you will want enough marksmen to do bear properly. So my suggestion, if you go to play 48 for 48 or a variation of that, it's to barely ever never kind of use speed-ups on training speed-ups on lancers. Promote them slowly if you're at the beginning of the game, go through promotion slowly, take your time, you're not really gonna use them anyway, and then most of your speed-ups will be, and then here you have two options again. You are like Gen 3, 4, either you care to do much damage on bear, so you just do training on marksman until you have enough, and you forget infantry. You're gonna lack infantry to fight infantry, you're gonna lack infantry to fight in Sunfire Castle battle, you're gonna overall lack infantry. But if you want to support a gameplay of, rally joiner, doing a lot of damage for bear for you and the opponents and stuff, that's an option. Else you will have to do infantry speed-ups as well, with your training speed-ups to get more infantry to be able to fight, and that will be a good amount. And that's a personal decision, but you can mix both. You can go crazy on infantry a bit to be able to fight because you want to be a good rally joiner and help your team. That could be totally an option. You could care about yourself, doing more bear damage. You can go infantry only, marksman only for a while, for a month or two, and then you balance both. You do 50-50, something like that. That's totally doable as well. So here you can balance. It's exactly the same with your T11. If you think about yourself and you care about bear, then go marksman first. If you care about the team and the team is using more infantry, you could do infantry. I will not suggest to do lancers first because, you're probably not using them. But your state might be asking you to join with lancers, so that's why you still need to train lancers. That's why you still need to have lancers. But you don't need the stats on your own heroes, on your own gear, on your own charms, because that's going to be used the one of the rally joiner, the rally leader, sorry. That's kind of the case for playing 48 for 48 to play marksman. I really wish, like, as a community, as a group, we can help each other make that happen. Share with each other reports or to manage the fighting. So feel free to go in the comment. Feel free to join on the Discord and help a bit everyone. Either free to play again from what we've seen today. I hope. I don't know. I mean, you play it the way you want. At the end of the day, it's a video game. If you like to play all troops, play all troops. If you like to play lancers, play lancers because you like lancers, whatever. That's really good. If you care to burn cities, you know, I'll hold my judgment for now, but I had a feeling that 60-40 was a bit stronger. It's just you're gonna need to sacrifice bear, you're gonna need to sacrifice arena a bit, especially at the free-to-play low spender, because you cannot do all heroes, and you will need to change your Lancer hero a bit more than the Lucky Wheel, right? For us, playing Marksman Infantry, it's really free us to get a lot of Marksman heroes and to enjoy arena, to enjoy exploration, to enjoy having a very, very strong march. So yeah, that's it for today. I'll cut the video here. That's half an hour. That's pretty good already. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything that you wanted to have in that video. I'll see you in the next one. Consider subscribing, consider joining the Discord, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye, everyone.